The road ends here for the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars. The National Championship Game 2025 in March Madness. The two heavyweights have been knocked out in the Final Four, but this should be another game that should see its fair share of excitement. The Gators knocked off the top seed overall in the Auburn Tigers, while the Cougars completely shut down the Duke Blue Devils, erasing a 14-point deficit to win 70-67 in the Final Four. In the third meeting all time between these two teams, Houston has won both previous meetings, both taking place in the 1970s. Houston's in the nation's longest winning streak at 18 games, but they're looking for the first title in program history, and just their third appearance, albeit their first one since 1984. Florida, they're on an 11-game winning streak, and in their fourth championship appearance, they're seeking their third title in program history, last winning it in 2007. Ironically, the last time these two teams played in the national championship in their respective years, the final score was 84-75. Houston lost to the Georgetown Hoyas, while Florida defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hello everyone, I am Alec Nava, so glad to have you here for the National Championship Game. We say hello to the Florida Gators and their starting five, consisting of Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, Will Richard, Ruben Chinyelu, and Alex Condon. As they get their starting five introduced to the court, head coached by Todd Golden in just his third year with the program, 6th year as a head coach overall. They're one of the biggest programs in the NCAA this year. And one of the biggest questions of every Houston opponent is how they can contend with the Cougars' physicality. Calvin Sampson's Houston teams have finished top 15 in adjusted defensive efficiency in the paint and playing exceptional interior defense. It gets started. Alex Condon introduced to the court. And this is a contrasting style of old school versus new school. So how they can contend. Houston teams have finished top 15 adjusted defensive efficiency in 7 of the last 8 years. Florida's big men of Chinyelu and Condon have to be relentless in rebounding, attacking the paint, and play exceptional interior defense. Houston outscored Duke 19-12 on second chance points on Saturday, and the Gators will have to close that gap to win. But this game is about endurance too. The Blue Devils, they were exhausted by the end of Saturday night, which is a byproduct of a grueling 40-minute game against Houston, one of the nation's slowest teams. Florida needs their big men to avoid foul trouble, challenge the Cougars around the rim on offense and defense, and have the stamina to play an intense pace for 2 halves. That's a daunting task that only one team has achieved since November 30th against Houston. Who should step up? It's Will Richard. There's a long list of standout guards that Houston has held to shaky offensive performances this March, and that includes Tyrese Proctor. Walter Clayton might be added to that group, but the Gators are not a one-man show. Richard's the only member of Florida's starting backcourt who had 3 single-digit efforts over the last 5 games. He made 30% of his shots from beyond the arc in league play, but it's 0 for 5 from beyond the arc in his last 2. That must change. Duke and his 3 projected lottery picks and the National Player of the Year needed more help around against Houston, even after they had a 14-point lead. Richard needs to contribute. The fatal flaw for Florida is giving opponents too many opportunities at the free throw line. Florida was the top 25 defensive team over the final month of the season, and it's a key element of their comebacks throughout the March Madness. But the Gators also have committed too many fouls recently. 9 of their last 11 opponents have at least 22 free throw attempts. Houston benefited from that from costly fouls by Duke, making 4 crucial free throws in the final seconds. Florida will win if Walter Clayton Jr. puts on another masterclass because of the way that they play and how much they rely on Clayton as a ball handler. The Gators will only go as far as he takes them. When he's potent as a scorer and playmaker, opponents are forced to double him, creating more opportunities for his teammates. The Gators will face the best defense in the nation, although they have overcome nearly impossible odds at the tournament. Houston's win over Duke was almost unheard of. If Clayton gets hot, it means that Florida's rolling, and they found the holes that was left behind this vaunted Houston defense. If they struggle, It complicates everything that Florida wants to do against Houston, especially the Gators have another second half deficit against them, between them and their title dreams. Houston is getting introduced among their starting five, where it looks like this: Milos Uzan, LJ Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Joseph Tugler, and Jawan Roberts, who is likely going to play his final game in the NCAA with the Houston Cougars, a devoted member of this program, a 6-year senior. So how Houston can do to contain Walter Clayton Jr. If anyone's going to slow him down, it will be the best defense in college. Houston is incredibly physical, both on and off the ball. They don't make anything easy for opponents. The Cougs will likely look to deny Clayton any easy chances at the rim. Make sure he doesn't get clean looks. But Clayton didn't have a lot of clean looks against the Red Raiders or the Auburn Tigers and still put up historically good performances. The 3-point line is what to watch for. Houston's 3-point defense is strong, but they allow 3-point shots. That's not a recipe for stopping Clayton. This game is also another massive game for the exiting 6-year senior Jawan Roberts. He's going to enter with a lot of confidence after making the biggest plays in the final seconds against the Blue Devils. He boxed out Cooper Flagg to draw the foul, made 2 free throws, contested Flagg's potential game-winning shot. And while he was inconsistent the last month or so and missed another 2 games because of an ankle injury, he's been his best so far throughout this tournament. But he ought to be at his very best again against this elite front court of the Gators. That means he has to be active and aggressive, getting offensive rebounds and stay out of foul trouble at the other end of the floor. The Gators have the size and the depth to throw at Houston, and tonight, Roberts must stay on the floor. Houston doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses, but 2 areas to watch will be 1, the free throw line, and 2, where the Cougars can avoid offensive droughts that nearly dug them too big of a hole against Duke. They were 12 out of 16 Big 12 teams in defensive free throw rate and 14th in offensive free throw rate. The Cougars average fewer free throw attempts per game than their opponents too. Florida isn't good at getting to the free throw line, by the way, and they're even worse at making those shots. But the officials are not letting Houston be physical, and players such as Clayton, Will Richard, and Thomas Hall are getting to the line. That's bad news. And LJ Cryer single-handedly kept Houston within striking distance, hitting multiple threes against the Blue Devils. But he didn't get much help from his teammates until late in the second half. It's hard to see that working again. If they win the battle on the boards and they limit Clayton, they're going to be in a position to win the national championship. Fortunately, they're coached by Kelvin Sampson, being one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. A big spot for Roberts and Tugler, ranking 10th in offensive rebounding percentage and top 20 second chance points per game. At the other end, Houston's guards have to stick to their principles against Clayton. Auburn had some early success blitzing him on ball screens and forcing the ball out of his hands. But as the game wore on, he consistently got to his left hand and into a rhythm. Houston had the same ideas, getting to the ball screens, hard hedging, blitzing to get the ball out of Clayton's hands and making sure that he does not get any clean looks. We're underway here at the national championship. A winner will be crowned here tonight. The Florida Gators seeking their third. The Houston Cougars seeking their first. Houston has the first touch on the right side. This is Roberts. Roberts moves up onto the right hash. Roberts spins, lays this one up, and it's in and out. And it'll be a last touch by the Cougars. Look to be last touch by Condon. Number 21 in the navy blue. Roberts playing his final game as the Houston Cougar, given that he's a 6-year senior. There's that Todd Golden, the head coach of the Gators. And Kelvin Sampson. Golden's 39 years old. He could be the youngest head coach since Jim Valvano in 1983 to win a national championship, while Kelvin Sampson is looking to become the oldest head coach to win a national championship. Florida defeated Auburn 79-73 in the Final Four. It's their 4th championship appearance. 2-1 here. 85.3 points per game this season as this three is rattled out, and Houston will go back with this ball as it exits out of bounds. That first shot from Walter Clayton Jr. He wanted to do it himself. You know how hot he can get. It'll be inbounded in by Milos Uzan as he leads the way. It is Uzan. Uzan through the far side. Screen set by Tugler as he catches a lob pass. Houston's on an 18-game winning streak. the longest active streak in D1. Hook shot is good. 58.5 points per game allowed this season for Houston. That's the fewest in the NCAA. Best defensive team in the nation. Tugler had 4 points in the semis as Condon hands off for Richard. Condon is boxed out by Tugler. Condon trying to find a lane. He can't get one. He is forced to kick it out. Left wing free on the way. Bounced out and is grabbed by Uzan on the rebound. Past the first minute of this first half. On the right wing side is Emmanuel Sharp. Sharp, he'll defer to Uzan, the point guard. Uzan looks, continuing to do so. Trying to find someone to get to. Set screen by Tugler. And Uzan thought about shooting the free, but he is closed off. Sharp fires one from deep. Offensive rebound by Tugler. It's kicked all the way out. Here's Cryer from way deep. In and out. Ball is tipped up and is saved by the Cougars. Excellent rebounding here. In comes Sharp. Rejected at the rim and is grabbed by the Cougars. Moving it up now is Martin. And here's Condon. A powerful slam here at San Antonio to get the party started. 2 offensive rebounds by the Cougars. A late stage block to keep that out of harm's way. Uzan will look at the right wing. De facto home game as the ball is poked. Reaching back onto his Uzan. They'll say no backcourt violation. Houston has this ball after the tip by Florida. Uzan hooking this one up. And it goes in off the window. Nearly 2.5 minutes into this first half, and already these two powerhouses showing what they can do. Condon inside. Foul from behind by Roberts. And he's not happy about that. But excellent ball movement by Florida to go tic-tac-toe with a cutting Condon right behind the entire defense. Uzan counters it, lofting this one above the blocking Will Richard. And the first free throws for Condon. And already Walter Clayton Jr.'s teammates are tasked to do the yeoman's work. Sophomore out of Perth, Australia. Been playing for the NBA Global Academy in Australia. 2 dribbles and a third one. He'll take his time with this and now fires. Good. Hakeem Olajuwon and Jim Nance both in attendance here. They were 2 nights ago when Houston took on Duke, and they were ecstatic and thrilled to see Houston advance to the national championship. Could this be the end of the curse here for the Cougars? As Condon's taking sweet time at the free throw line. And now he fires it. Sinks both. Exactly 2:30 into this first half, Condon backs up. He had just 1 point in the final 4. On 0 of 5 shooting, he had only 1 free throw. He already outscored that total. He also fouled out that game with 5 personals. Cryer closed off a ton. Now it's Roberts hooking this one. It's a little too far. Ball bounced up. Roberts trying to fight for the ball, but it's scooped up by Richard. Up the far side is dropped back onto the right wing. Richard moves it up. And a hand there on Chinyelu. Joseph Tugler tried to head check that one away. The officials were not having any of that. And Tugler has to reestablish himself up at the interior. Huddles up here over at the sideline as with nearly 3 minutes to go, 3 minutes gone here in this first half. Powering up onto the right wing. Going for the slam. That putback is also rejected. Houston ball. Jawan Roberts. An absolute menace at the rim. The shot block immediately from Joseph Tugler, and then Roberts follows up. A clean block of the first try. And then the second one as Tugler and Roberts combine with one another at the front court. Left hook. It's good. Wow. Houston converting defense into offense, and Tugler saying, "You're going to strike me down. I will come right back to you with the fury of 1,000 raging fires." Backdoor! Chinyelu answers. And a heavy car crash over at the paint after. And Tugler, who was banged up in the Final 4 game, he gets a little stricken down afterwards and seemed to have grabbed his knee. Ouch. Tugler seemed to have been checked up right afterwards. And that's what drew the foul. He had an ankle injury against Duke. Had 4 blocks in the Final Four against Duke. He averages 2 blocks per game. But what a defensive game he had. So he subs out, and moving back inside is Uzan, who finds Javier Francis. Francis to the paint. Francis tried to put up, he missed the dunk. Roberts tried to put this one back, is short. A tip drill, grabbed by Florida. Here they come for the near side as Clayton lost the ball. The Cougars go back with this 2-on-1. Cryer fires the free immediately. Too far on that one. Roberts tried to save it. He does. And it goes for Sharp. Fires a long blast. Almost in a wedgie. The Gators will move it up through the far side. Set up for Clayton. That's the 5th offensive rebound. Backdoor. Layup is in. And the Gators have their first lead. That's thanks to the substitution, Micah Hanlotkin. From Lake Norman, North Carolina, a transfer from Marshall. On the near side, there's a half spin from Sharp. Mid-range shot is good. Manuel Sharp is staying sharp, no pun intended. And he ties this game up at 8. But what will Florida's offense bring here to the table? You know that they're one of the better offenses in the nation. On the left corner, this goes out of bounds and it's thrown away. 4:55 to the first half. We're even up at 8 apiece. This Florida team, a bunch of offensive pieces, and this Houston team have a lot of defensive pieces. We'll return here from San Antonio in just a moment. Our referees are Ron Groover, Terry Oglesby, and Doug Sermons here for tonight's game. In this meeting for the ages, Kelvin Sampson, 69 years old. He will be the oldest head coach to win a national championship all time. Todd Golden's 39 on the other hand. He'll be the youngest head coach to win a national championship since Jim Valvano, who was 37 at the time when he won a national championship. Ironically, it was against Houston. Sampson is the oldest head coach to reach the national championship game. It's one thing to reach the championship, it's another to win it. And Houston's been on the losing end of it twice, 1983 and 1984. They want to make sure that third time is a charm here tonight at San Antonio. Houston's 4-13, Florida's 3 of 7 shooting-wise. But neither team has made a free-point so far. Crier going inside. Oh! Javier Francis just put the Florida Gators on a posterizer. Elijah Martin's been known for those. On the other hand, does he counter with one of his own? On the back door, Condon almost lost. He goes to Martin. He steps back. The Furs on the left wing free through the way. Airballed. And it's saved by Francis. Javier Francis. A major highlight reel dunk is sharp. Ball taken away by Florida as Roberts could not secure it. And then drop back over to the logo as this deep three is heaved. Didn't even hit the rim, but the putback. A thunderous jam by Thomas Ho. The new Oxford native making his statement, averaging 13 points per game throughout the tournament, 7.4 rebounds per game. Here's Crier as he goes towards the right side. Ball is almost knocked away by Ho as Roberts moves up, spins, turns, goes to the paint, has to put it up, hooks it, bounces, and the rebound's knocked out by a Hanlotkin, who was calling for Houston ball. It was calling that Houston last touched the ball. But what a powerful slam, one-handed, as he put Thomas Ho on a poster. Javier Francis, how do you do? They have decided that it was last touch Houston after deliberation, so Florida will go the other way. Hanlotkins got his wish. He was calling for Florida ball as Roberts is going to sit down for this sequence. It's about stamina. And Will Clayton Jr., he does not have a point. Walter Clayton Jr. does not have a point, but he has 3 assists so far. Behind the back pass, nearly intercepted. Florida keeps this one alive as Hull fakes it. Hull goes to the rack and lost it. Taken away by Arsenault. He was a hero here at the Alamo Dome in high school. Can he deliver again here? The three-point shooting has been huge for the Cougars. Can they hit one here? No, they airball it, but it's stepped alive by Arsenault. And now a deep one is sunk in, but it will not count because it was out of bounds once Arsenault touched it. But that was a practice shot. A practice shot that was drilled from NBA range, and the Florida crowd is heckling the last shooter. Elijah Martin will check out as he will sit down on the bench. He is joined by Ruben Chinyello over at that bench, and Florida's substitutions will come on as Thomas Ho checks in. On the court are Clayton, Richard, Ho, Aberdeen, and Condon. Yet Denzel Aberdeen, who's off that bench. Clayton, who's trying to put Tugler on a map. Clayton delivers it over left side for Ho and gets a return feed. Clayton from NBA range. That's too far. Ball is tipped up and it's grabbed by Joseph Tugler. Crier leads the way over to Uzan. Uzan. Their team has hit a free under 11 combined three-pointers. 0-5 for Florida, 0 for 6 for Houston. On the left wing, it is Crier who delivers it back for Uzan. Uzan shakes and then bakes some more, but there's a good switch there by Florida. Lofted up and sunk for the mid-range shot with Uzan floating that one through. 4 points already on his first 2 shots. Neither team has made a three-pointer. Alex Condon. This looks like old school hoops here. Condon delivers it back over to Clayton. Inside Condon. On the right wing. The free on the way for Richard. Bank shot. That's gonna be waved off. The three-pointer will not count, as there was a travel here on the way. So this three-pointer will not count for Richard. And Jawan Roberts will sub back in. Will Richard traveled, and as such, you have to be thinking about that one. Javier Francis will sit down. Jawan Roberts checks back in. 4 turnovers in this game, all by the Gators. Screen set on the left wing side, and it's delivered over to Tugler. Joseph Tugler will deliver back to Arsenault. Terrence Arsenault with Clayton guarding him. Arsenault almost lost the handle, but he quickly gets it back. With 5, with 4. Arsenault trying to figure out who to pass to. On the left, the free is on the way. Off the boards. And is grabbed by Condon as he wrestled that one away from several beating Cougars. For the right wing and his sent inside, tipped away is Arsenault with a nice save off the deflection. The Cougars playing excellent defense here on the Gators. On the right wing, Uzan. Delivers across wing, the free, lofted up, bounced out. Rebound is tipped. It's grabbed by Clayton. Walter Clayton Jr. leads the way back. Houston 0 for 8 3-point shooting. Florida 0 for 5. Condon will move around cross wing. And it's delivered right side as Condon tried to set the screen. Gets the switch. From the free throw line, the penetration is there. Ball hit the backboard, never even touched the rim. The Cougars get it nonetheless. 12-10 they lead here. 10:45 to go here in the half. It's been an excellent defensive game here in this year's national championship. A masterclass of both teams. Hawked around left to right as Roberts gets the drive and finishes. Jawan Roberts in his final game wants to get one for Kelvin Sampson. Left hash, poked away but able to keep is Aberdeen. Florida without a point in the last 3:50. A handshake and it will be a foul. Walter Clayton Jr. got jostled off the ball, and Tugger, who's been dealing with that injury, he has to catch his breath. Houston leads 14-10. Florida trying to find a way back. We'll return to you from San Antonio. Championship here tonight in this winner-take-all tournament. And what has seen the powerhouses make their statements this year, it is finally going to come to a conclusion here tonight. Whether it be the Florida Gators winning their third title or the Houston Cougars winning their first title. Hakeem Olajuwon led the Cougars to back-to-back championship appearances, but lost both. Hakeem will later see success in the NBA, winning 2 NBA titles with his hometown Houston Rockets. While he played college ball with the Cougars, he stayed with Houston, being drafted first overall with the Rockets. As Houston will get this one back off the foul. Right wing across to the other wing, and that's intercepted. On the pickpocket, the layup is sunk. Wow. Talk about defense to offense for Malik Wilson. The Rayville, Louisiana native and a graduate student who played high school ball at Rayville just forced Florida's 6th turnover of the half. So far, it's Houston with their defensive statement. No free-point plays here and no free-point shots here. Can this be one here for Condon? No. It is tipped up. Fight for the loose ball. It'll be grabbed by the Gators. They have to kick it out. To avoid the free second roll, the fake and the swish. There it is. Will Richard with the first free-pointer all game. And it comes at the 10:35 mark. Elapsed time. Florida 1-7 shooting from free. Houston 0-7. On the right corners, driven mid-range. Now on the right hash, the Cougars trying to look onto the inside. The spin, the turn, Francis. He delivers one for the answer. Far side, the Gators trying to come back with this. It's delivered over to the point. And then here's Richard. Lofts one, delivers. Back-to-back freeze for the Gators. They have the first two. It's Will Richard. Up to 6 points. Said that he need a big game. And so far he's delivering in this first half for the Gators. Inside it's Francis. Javier Francis will look. Drawing the one-on-one matchup. Francis posts up and delivers one. Javier Francis pushing to the limit on the interior. The Gators cutting back on free-pointers. And they're rolling with it. Martin to Condon. Alex Condon will look at the opposite wing. Ball is up. It is saved inside. Condon delivers this backwards towards the logo. Clayton does not have a point so far. He is the primary playmaker though. He's delivered back. Here's Clayton. Long range heave. Too far. But a whistle is blown before the 3-point play. Will Richard delivers a shake and bake on Javier Francis. Then a spin and turn with Francis countering on Ruben Chinyelu. Excellent work here from both sides. It is an offense. It is a travel against Florida. That's why that 3-point shot did not go. Houston 5-17 to start off shooting-wise. They have since been 5-7. They're comfortable playing a slow pace, but here comes Florida off the pickpocket. Here is Richard. Rejected away as it was swatted. Francis grabs this rebound. LJ Cryer, he's had himself some huge nights. Cryer, did he bump into one of the Gators? Doesn't matter, as Sharp missed it, the ball goes out of bounds. With 7:42 to go here in this first half, excellent defense by the Gators. We talk about how the Cougars are elite defensively. Don't not count out the Gators in this department. We'll be right back in a moment. Remember, in 3 days is the start of the Frozen Four on the men's side. The Western Michigan Broncos, defending champion Denver Pioneers, the Boston University Terriers, and the newcomers, Penn State Nittany Lions. The latter being in their first ever Frozen Four appearance, Denver trying to repeat as champions and win their third in 4 years. Todd Golden calling the shots here as the head coach of the Gators. Florida has 7 turnovers on the night. Houston with just 4 points off of those turnovers. Usually when you think of generating turnovers, you have to convert those chances. Al Horford's in attendance. 2-time March Madness champion with the Gators. And an NBA champion with the Boston Celtics. Gators have the ball as they move it over right wing side. Elijah Martin goes inside, receiving the feed and the layup. Nice give and go for Florida, seeking their third title in March Madness. Houston looking for their first. This game has been back and forth, but no lead is safe. Emmanuel Sharp spins, turns, hooks, airballed. It's grabbed by Francis, but a foul is going to be called. There might have been a hand on the way to the entry for Sharp on the way to the basket, but nice window flush by Elijah Martin going to the inside. This foul is going to be against Florida. That's their first one. And Jawan Roberts, who had 2 huge free throws to close out Houston's last game, will shoot 2. First one's good. And the Cougars wanting to get Kelvin Sampson their 300th win as Houston's head coach, as well as his 800th career win as a head coach. And it'll be the sweetest one of them all. Tonight. Second shot. It is in and out. Florida can tie with a free. Walter Clayton Jr. has yet to score, but he's been so potent throughout March Madness. Delivered over right wing side, then brought backwards. Around the horn, this goes to Martin, as Martin will look at the right wing. Then backed up at the point. Clayton motions for Handwater to get open as Handwater to get open at the right wing side. It's delivered over to the right side. They have to get a shot off. No. They did not get the shot off on time. Houston's defense stood tall. Kelvin Sampson, knowing what he's doing as a defensive maestro, and Thomas Ho got caught with the ball as the shot clock expired. Now Houston will come back with this. At the logo, 8 turnovers for the Gators, despite making 7 shots. It's not a recipe for winning usually. Cryer kicked it out. Here's Sharp on the free. Wasn't hit. And Florida gets the rebound right back. Clayton. Does Houston do it again? The Cougars have missed on their first 8 3-point attempts. Inside Condon kicked out Richard. Perfect. And we're all leveled up. Whoa, Richard was all 3 Florida 3-pointers. Knotted up at 21-all here with 5:55 to go in the first half. On the left wing, this is Togor delivering one towards the left side for Cryer. The Gators trying to defend. Javier Francis saying to screen. Cryer's deep shot. Perfect! And that's the first free by the Cougars. Who else? Through the far side, the Gators looking for the answer. Clayton hooks one on the pass. Delivered over back door. Handwater was so... I was so excited there, and the slam through the alley. Defense to offense. Man, talk about excitement that you can't find your words on the play-by-play. And Emmanuel Sharp forces the jump ball. 5:17 was Micah Handwater was blocked away, and Javier Francis delivers the alley-oop flush. Emmanuel Sharp with the elevator to Malik Wilson, I meant. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I can't even call it correctly, and I apologize for that. 5-point lead for the Cougars. Possession arrow now goes to Houston. Hooked up through the air, short, bounced up, and grabbed by Houston. Off this rebound. Shifting left is Cryer. LJ Cryer, Wilson's open, fakes, now delivers it. Off the window in! After missing their first 8 3-pointers, Houston delivers Their next two, they scored the last 8 points in a 50-second span. The best defensive team in the nation getting things done. Condon. And another turnover. The Houston crowd is rolling. Malik Wilson using the window to perfection on his 3-point shot at the corner. And Houston forces another Florida turnover. That is their ninth. Timeout called by the Gators. We'll return in a moment here at San Antonio. The turnovers are huge. Florida has turned over the ball 9 times in this game. Houston just once. It's a testament to how outstanding and suffocating the Cougars defense is throughout the course of the season, when they have allowed the least amount of points per game. Off the bench, Houston has outscored Florida 13-4, and that's with the Cougars going 8 deep, while Florida's bench is deep. And the Cougars showing themselves as an elite defensive team. They're trying to win their first, but Florida has a penchant for the dramatic in the second half. Walter Clayton Jr., of course, with the book of magic tricks. However, despite for all his feats, Houston is locking him up to the tune of 0 points. He put up 34 against Auburn. Of course, Houston with the blitzes early on Clayton. Does that work out to perfection for the Cougars? Or does Florida make the halftime adjustments? Here is Uzan on the right wing side. Uzan will look at the opposite side and activate. Uzan fakes, now pumps up. Florida's calling for travel. Arsenal fighting for the ball, but is taken away by Condon. Don't forget about anything that we said about travels. Far side, they take it up as Clayton delivers. Inside, Chinyelu kicked out for Condon, and now it's Martin. Elijah Martin will move it over left side. Backdoors Condon puts one up. Off the window, it is a 6-point game here at San Antonio with 4 minutes to go in the half. What adjustments will these two teams make when we get to the break? So far, both teams have been disciplined. Here's Cryer, who fought about the free, decides not to take it. Roberts trying to set up the screen. He does, and then moves over to the left side. Moved out. Here is Roberts, who fired it too far, and this will go out of bounds with the Gators getting the ball after the break with 3:41 to go in the first half. What a cut, what a feed for Condon as he delivers one up. Off the window. The final 341 when we return. Less than 4 minutes to go. Florida will retain the ball. They're down by 6. Houston led by as much as 8 points. Their suffocating defense has forced 9 Florida turnovers. And in the house are Hakeem Olajuwon and Jim Nance. Olajuwon in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2008 was the Cougar center from 1981 to 1984 and the Rockets' longtime face of the franchise over the late 80s and the 90s. For the left wing, it is moved inside. Handlock is looking, or rather Condon. Condon's hook is blocked, and fighting for the ball, it will stay with Houston, I think. I don't know. This is too close to call. Condon was boxed out by Roberts, a smaller guy, but Roberts got the hand onto the ball. We'll have to see where the last touch was. It was Houston on the last touch. For the right wing, mid-range shot is sunk. And Florida's back within 4. Up for the middle, Uzan directing the traffic. Will Richard with a big game. He has 11 points. It all comes to Walter Clayton Jr.'s utters delivering here. For Florida to win this, along with Clayton having a masterclass himself. Uzan, he fakes left. Looks at the right wing. Has nowhere to pass to. Now there is an option. He gets it back from Francis. Uzan with free. Uzan needs to get it off soon. He does. Too far. Hit the rim. Shot clock is reset, but Condon grabs the rebound. Alex Condon fakes the pass up front and delivers it off for Clayton. Houston 13-32. Florida 10-24. Condon delivers one. Chinyelu too far. And the rebound is grabbed by Francis off the help from Roberts. And once again, here they come. The shake. And now the bake from Myleik Wilson. Free throw line is in and out. And Condon will grab another board. Up the far side. Clayton shifts. And is kicked out to Condon. Clayton's being locked up here tonight. Condon gets it. Condon doubled. He is in trouble. Swings out to an open Martin. Lofts the free. In and out. Tapping up his own rebound is Wilson. And he'll immediately find Cryer. This is an excellent defense of the Houston Cougars so far in this game. They have forced the Gators into mistakes, and they're showing that on the biggest stage in college basketball. 1:46 to go here in the first half of the national championship. Houston leading 29-25. They have the ball. LJ Cryer with 5. Posts up from mid-range and drills it. LJ Cryer, a sharpshooter. And while he has 5 points, the defensive impact cannot be understated for this Cougars team. A double team on Richard, who lofts one, is short. Excellent defense by the Cougars that time around to make sure that Richard does not get a 3-point shot because he's been outstanding from deep. We'll have the halftime report shortly afterwards about these two teams and the contrasting styles they play, plus updates around the sporting world. Less than 8 seconds to go as Houston will move it up. They'll slow it down at the near side like they always do and what they love to do. Cryer calling for the screen, and he gets one from Roberts, but his defender stays on it. Now he gets the screen, but he's still doubled up. Roberts, off the handoff, posts up. This layup bounced out. It was saved by the Gators with 55 seconds. Now to the left side, Richard from deep. Bullseye! How did he make that? Will Richard had everything closed off. Houston did everything right. And Houston is going to let this one roll down. It is an 11-second difference between shot clock and game clock. And now a timeout called by the Cougars. They lead it 31-28 with exactly 34 seconds to go in the first half. So with 34 seconds, Kelvin Sampson going over the blueprints. How to stop the Florida Gators. So far, Walter Clayton Jr. is having himself an extremely quiet night. And it looks like this was a swat at the last moment to make sure that ball doesn't go in. It was rolling around several times at the rack, but was swatted away right on time by Micah Hanlotkin. The Cougars will inbound it, 34 on the game clock, 22 on the shot clock. Fake left. Someone has to get open. It is Roberts. Juwan Roberts comes back all the way to the deep side of the court. At the logo, waits for this. Milos Uzan, who delivers one. Francis, fighting Cryer, faking the free. Boxed out as Roberts ain't discreet. He pulls up from deep. Off the backboard. It'll be another chance for Uzan. Airballed it. And with 12 seconds, the Gators will have the last shot. It was plenty of time to shoot for Milos Uzan with just 2 seconds. And with an open look, Houston's hit just 2 3-pointers. But this is normally a sharpshooting 3-point team because they have 3 guys who can shoot over 40% from deep. 2 seconds, 1 second. Buzzer beater for the tie. It bounces up and it stayed out. That's how the first half ends. Will Richard making his statement, but the Houston Cougars with the statement of their own, forcing 9 Florida turnovers in the first half. It's back and forth here at halftime with the Cougars leading 31-28. Richard with 14 points. Leading score for Houston, Malik Wilson with 7 points. I'm Alec Nava. When we come back, it's a halftime report here. The national championship of San Antonio. Who will get the crown? We'll be back for the halftime report. Welcome to the halftime report. Alex Nava here with you. The Cougars leading 31-28 at halftime with Will Richard dominating for the Gators. 14 points, 4-6 from free has hit all 4 Florida three-pointers. Everyone else is a combined 0 for 8, including Walter Clayton Jr., who has no points through 20 minutes of play, despite the fact that he has 5 assists. Alex Condon with 6 points, Micah Hanlotkin with 2 points, Denzel Aberdeen, Thomas Ho also utilized off the bench, Ruben Chinyelu also utilized 2 points each for Chinyelu, Elijah Martin, Thomas Ho, and Micah Hanlotkin. Hanlotkin was blocked earlier, but with 9 turnovers for the Gators. That's the key difference. 5 blocks and 4 steals for the Cougars. 1 each from Myleik Wilson, Terrence Arsenault, LJ Cryer, and Joseph Togler. 2 blocks each from Javier Francis and Jawan Roberts. And a block from Myleik Wilson as well. 7 points for Wilson, 5 for LJ Cryer, 4 each for Milos Yuza and Joseph Togler, 6 for Javier Francis, 3 from Jawan Roberts, 2 for Emmanuel Sharp. As we go over the team stats side by side between these two teams. 11-29 for the Gators, shooting-wise. Houston's 14-37. From three-point range, both teams have fired 14 times each. Florida hit 4 of them, Houston hit 2. From the free throw line, Florida's 2 for 2, Houston's 1 for 2. So free throws are at a minimum. The game is being played fast. Rebounds are 22-19 Houston, Florida. Assists 8-3 Florida. Steals 4-2 Houston. Blocks 5-2 Houston. Turnovers are 9-2 Florida. That's the big difference here. But Houston's holding on to a 31-28 lead because of Florida's offense. Points in the paint, 14-12 Houston. Fast break points are 4-0 Houston, including that highlight reel dunk. As we go over to these two, about how these two are contrasting styles of play. It's an oversimplification to say that Florida is college basketball's version of Moneyball. It's according to Pete Famo of ESPN. Houston runs the sports version of the Oklahoma drill in practice. The Cougars also use analytics. The Gators are rugged enough to wear down Johnny Broome of Auburn. But with Kelvin Sampson slated to become the oldest coach to win a D1 men's basketball title if Houston wins, the 39-year-old Todd Golden, poised to be the youngest coach since Jim Valvano in 1983 to do it if Florida prevails. This championship matchup features a contrast of styles and philosophies from different eras. It's best captured through each team's defining players. On one side, Walter Clayton Jr., the embodiment of the transfer portal era. He committed to the Gators after an Easter Sunday dinner 2 years ago with Todd Golden at Sergio's, an Italian restaurant Westchester County known for its crab legs and vodka penne. Clayton unexpectedly invited St. John's assistant Steve Masiello to join. Masiello was also in the process of recruiting Clayton to follow Rick Pitino after playing his first 2 seasons for the legendary coach at Iona. The other side is Jawan Roberts, the low post force for the Cougars. In his 6 years of the program after committing to the Cougars before the transfer portal even launched. He's played for Kelvin and Sampson long enough that he even shared the court with Quentin Grimes, who's now in his 4th NBA season. Both stars have thrived in their respective programs as a result of the fundamentals their head coaches emphasize. The toughest part of stopping Florida starts with attempting to slow Clayton down. The 2023 NCAA Player of the Year, the best overall player in this tournament. 34 points against Auburn in the Final Four, and a flurry of hesitation drives to the basket the Tigers admitted were guarded about as well as they could be. Clayton executed high-degree, hard finishes, and a step-back three against the Texas Tech Red Raiders in the Elite Eight was the most daring and important shot of Florida's run in this tournament. He tied the game up at the final 2 minutes after the Gators erased a 10-point deficit and a 9-point deficit with less than 3 minutes to go. Clayton bloomed into Florida's full-time point guard after shifting over off guard to start the season, earning the program's first ever first-team All-America honors. This team was built by Golden with quality depth, high-end shooting, and a deep front court. Clayton has emerged fearlessly. And looking back at the dinner with Golden and Masiello last, they thought they were going to have a recruiting battle in the middle of the restaurant. Instead, he returned without any drama. He led the Gators to their first national title game since 2007. Florida got a Jalen Brunson type player for the program, as Clayton likes the comparison, even though Brunson isn't even his favorite player on NBA 2K, because they got him too small. It makes him susceptible to bigger defenses. Clayton also said he developed thanks to from Golden's analytics forward approach. Florida's roster is a blend of portal, high school, and international recruiting. Houston's isn't much different. The Cougars do have key portal additions in LJ Cryer and Milos Uzan, but Kelvin Sampson is defiant that the guts of the program remain old school, and the growth of players like Jawan Roberts, from a skinny rebounder to hounding Cooper Flagg to missing the critical shot in the Final Four, it remains Sampson's preferred method of team building. Roberts hit 2 free throws that are crucial to sealing the deal that ultimately secured the comeback win over Duke, willing home both ends of a 1-on-1. With 19 seconds on the clock, the Houston assistants watched with arms linked on the bench. After the first shot, Quantus White moved toward the court to make a coaching point, quickly pulled back to the arm lock as Roberts line drove the second free throw. He shot 150 free throws a day since the summer to prepare for the moment, summed up the prevailing vibe of what drives the Houston program this way. When she said, quote, "I feel like you never want to let him down. It's as to the fear of what practice is like after a loss proving to be a significant motivator. Sampson has evolved to thrive in this era, but he hasn't changed aspects fundamental to building this program. And the hirings of Sampson and Golden reflect the different paths on their ways to the title between Houston and Florida respectively, and the eras that they come from. Scott Strickland, the athletic director for the Gators, traveled to Indianapolis in March of 2022 to meet Golden, who was then the coach at San Francisco before the Dons' first-round game against Murray State in that year's NCAA tournament. And the sides met in person for the first time at the Meridian Hotel in Indianapolis, directly next to St. Elmo's, in a meeting room named after the counterculture actor Steve McQueen. That setting fits, as Strickland saw a different type of thinker for the sport's ever-so-changing landscape, especially as it transitions to the transfer portal era. What separated Golden was understanding analytics, having a detailed plan on how to use them in the modern era. Not just foreseeing the end of the era in terms of simply stockpiling talent. Strickland wanted to be where the puck was headed and where to shoot it. Back in 2014, then Houston Athletic Director Mack Rhodes faced a much different set of hiring circumstances when he first brought in Sampson. He was off a 5-year cause penalty stemming from violations with the Indiana Hoosiers. Sampson worked nearby as an assistant for the Houston Rockets. Houston just finished their first year in the AAC, have been March Madness all 4 years of James Dickey's tenure. Rhodes recalled Sampson's intentionally in the interview, a clear vision of non-negotiables. They'll play harder than the opponent. Players will go to the glass. Coached hard. Family at the forefront. Rhodes chuckled when recalling that Sampson said parents could call about anything like academics or character, just not playing time. And Sampson wanted a chance to refurbish his reputation. Rhodes recalled Sampson telling him, "You know what comes up when you Google my name right now?" He asked, quote. Rhodes added, quote, he wanted to change that legacy for his family. As soon as he was hired, Sampson's former athletic director at Oklahoma, Joe Castiglione, sent him an unconventional congratulatory gift, a ladder for his office. It was an appreciation of prior championships and a symbol there were more to come. This ladder was used plenty. Houston's reached 2 Final Fours under Sampson and at the country's longest active streak of Sweet 16 appearances with 6 straight. The program bit out on old school grit, crashed to a team built on the signs of staying ahead in the new era. But the gritty team will still use analytics, and the analytics team will still hang in tough. These two teams between Florida and Houston are playing to cut down the nets for either the oldest coach in history to win the title or for the one of the youngest trying to establish himself as a face of the next generation. And that is what is being fought for here in the national championship. So as it is looking in live onto the standings here, both at the NHL and the NBA, as the playoff race is down to the wire. We first go to the NBA, where the Eastern Conference feels already set. On the Western Conference, the Phoenix Suns are unofficially eliminated from playoff contention. That could likely send the Dallas Mavericks to the play-in after a nightmare season that has been plaguing them. The UConn Huskies women's team makes their return to glory with their first championship in 9 years with an 82-59 win over the then previous champion South Carolina Gamecocks. They have held every one of the Gamecocks to 10 points or less. The highest scoring players for South Carolina were Joyce Edwards and Tessa Johnson, each with 10 points. Edwards added 5 rebounds, and not one of these players can get things going. Chloe Kitts with 9.6 rebounds. Sania Fegan with 8 points, 3 rebounds. And leading the way for UConn was a mix of veteran talent and young blood. Azzy Fudd and Sarah Strong, each with 24 points. Fudd 9-17 shooting from the field with 5 rebounds and 3 steals. Strong added 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. He was outstanding in this game. And Paige Beckers caps off her UConn career with a national title. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. And he led the way as the team leader. So as for the Western Conference field, in the NBA, it is still possible that the Los Angeles Lakers could get the 2 seed. However, the Houston Rockets have to lose out and the Lakers have to win out for the Lakers to get the 2 seed. But in all essence, the Rockets are going to be on their way to clinching the 2 seed. Right behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have already clinched the number 1 seed in the West. They have nothing else to really play for in the Western Conference in all likelihood. So there's a chance they could be resting their starters in advance for the playoffs down the line. That's not going to be the case for the team seeded 3 through 8 in the West between the Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Golden State Warriors, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies and Nuggets are in free fall as of right now. The Nuggets were previously the 2 seed in the West, but they have lost 4 straight and 7 of their last 10. Same case with the Grizzlies, who have lost 7 of their last 10, but they have won their last 2. Minnesota has won their last 5 and a 7-3 run throughout the course of the season. The Warriors are 7-3 in their last 10 as well, and are looking to reestablish themselves as championship favorites, potentially stealing an NBA championship, looking to tie the 1995 Houston Rockets at this current rate as the lowest seeded team to win an NBA championship. That's how loaded this Western Conference field is. The East field is all set. The top 6 being the Cavaliers, Celtics, Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, and Pistons. 7 through 10 are the Magic, Hawks, Bulls, and Heat. That is in no order, but in all likelihood, the Cavaliers may hang on to the top seed in the Eastern Conference. There is a path in which the Celtics can take it, but the Cavs might as well lock up the top seed in the East. For the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoff field, the top 3 teams in the Atlantic Division have already clinched between the Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Florida Panthers. The Ottawa Senators are catching up, and they may be on their way to clinching a playoff spot. The Montreal Canadiens are not too far behind. They are 6 points ahead of the 3rd place team in the wild card race, as Ottawa and Montreal are pulling away from the rest of the pack. The Washington Capitals and Carolina Hurricanes have already clinched and already eliminated from playoff contention are the Boston Bruins and both Pennsylvania teams, the Philadelphia Flyers and Pittsburgh Penguins. And in the Western Conference, the Jets, Stars, and Avalanche have clinched. Golden Knights and the Los Angeles Kings have also clinched. The Edmonton Oilers and St. Louis Blues can be the next 2 teams to clinch so long as they win their respective games and the Sharks defeat the Calgary Flames. So as we are waiting along for the return to action here, we'll get back to you here for the second half. I am Alec Nava. Stay tuned. time for the second half to come here in the national championship. Offensive rebounds are 6-4 Houston, but Florida has the advantage in second chance points 7-0. Holding a team that thrives off of second chance points and defense to 0 second chance points. But turnovers have been the name of the game in that first half. That has been plaguing Florida right behind. They have 9 turnovers against them. Will Richard with 14 points on 4-6 from 3. The rest of the team has 14 points, but they're 8 from 3. The knee was there for having a huge game as he was held without a 3-point basket in his last 2 games heading into the national championship. And Florida is only down 3, but they have made the necessary adjustments over the course of the last few games to pull off comebacks in their previous wins in March Madness. If there's anyone who can deliver a come-from-behind victory in the national championship, it is Florida. But don't count out the Houston Cougars. Their suffocating defense can pave the way. And Will Richard has been dynamic as he made several moves to hit threes up and throughout. It wasn't exactly getting open, but it's the double moves that have been pivotal. Walter Clayton Jr. and LJ Cryer with 0 and 5 points respectively in this game. Clayton has averaged 24.6 points per game for this tournament. Cryer 18.6. Clayton does not have a shot made throughout this game in that first half. Cryer is 2 for 6. This is the second game that Clayton's had this season where he did not have a point in the first half. But if we know him, it's that he is a sleeping giant. But so is LJ Cryer. Who will step up here for these two teams? As we're looking to get underway, Houston has the first possession of the second half. Let's go! Houston in the white, Florida in the blue. A half spin by Jawan Roberts as the starting 5 is back out there. Cryer was back onto the logo. This is the lowest scoring first half in a national championship game in 14 years. Cryer wanted to get open. He was closed off immediately. He is not open. He'll deliver it off. Roberts going inside. That's a charge. Blocking foul. As Alex Condon got helped up. But I thought there was going to be a charge as Jawan Roberts moved him out of the way. And Jawan Roberts shoved Condon out the way on the power move inside. That's not a charge. It's a blocking foul. Houston's missed 7 of their last 8 shots. They must break the dry spell. Step back 3 for Cryer. Sunk! Yes, sir. LJ Cryer. As is mentioned about sleeping giants. Could this be the spark for him to get the turnaround? That's his 8th point. And second free at this game. Inside a baseline, the layup rejected by Roberts. And the ball comes loose for a moment. Quickly the Cougars move it up. On the left wing, Sharp rejected out of bounds. Walter Clayton Jr., who was held scoreless in this game, with the block on Sharp's three-pointer. And Clayton says, I can play defense too. Inbound from Cryer to Uzan. Milos Uzan gets set up. 6 blocks already for the Cougars and 3 for the Gators. Shifting left is Uzan. Fence it off for Sharp. Sharp moves inside for Roberts. Jawan Roberts moves to left hash on one leg. Bounced out. Rebounds grabbed by Condon. Through the near side, Clayton has yet to score in this game. Finds a cutting Condon. The flush on the finish. Alex Condon getting aggressive at the baseline down under. No pun intended. Immediately, Cryer will go again. Too far. Rebound is tipped up. A fight for the ball. He grabbed by Florida. And moving up through the near side, then over the left wing, a whistle is signaled after Chinyelu's rebound. A foul against the Cougars, I believe. And Kelvin Sampson wants his guys to get focused. That actually might be an offensive foul against the Gators. And Todd Golden wanted to get his guys disciplined right after the cutting dunk by Alex Condon. Nearly 2 minutes gone here in this half. And Milos Uzan moves to the right, shakes and bakes, and backs up as Clayton stayed with him. No screen as Clayton is still with him. 10 turnovers for the Gators. And Uzan, he might travel. No, it's going to be a foul as Condon set up a shove at the front. Condon with 2 fouls already. It's going to be 2 shots as Florida picks up their 3rd foul. I thought it was an offensive foul, but no, it's going to be 2 shots here as Florida picks up their 3rd foul. Milos Uzan, who has 4 points already, tried to make this a 6-point game. It's been a low-scoring effort. First shot is good. Defense has been the name of this game. And as they say, defense wins championships. So far, these two thriving because of defense. It's by Florida's knack for finding offensive firepower. Florida averages much more points per game on offense than Houston, but Houston's the most suffocating defense in the nation. Uzan is perfect. It is 36-30 to lead here for the Cougars as the Gators go back the other way. Set up the looks for Clayton. He does not have a point so far, but he has 6 assists. Back at the point, it's Condon, who will deliver this off to Elijah Martin. Catch and shoot. No! There is another offensive foul against the Gators. A look on the right baseline, and that's the 2nd offensive foul that the Gators have picked up in the opening 2.5 minutes of this half. An illegal shoulder at the baseline, up at the front by Will Richard. That cannot happen for the Gators. They're up to 11 turnovers on this game. Cryer moves up, in and out of the baseline. Now back for Cryer. As Tugler, he got tangled up. And Will Richard again. That's the 5th foul, and we're not even at the halfway mark of the second half. And you'd imagine that Richard has to sub out because he is facing foul trouble. Todd Golden's upset. He doesn't like the fact that Richard is being called for a foul here. That's his 2nd in a matter of seconds. A step closer off the tangle up as he hooked Joseph Tugler. And Tugler is saying, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. And Richard, he's staying on the court. There'll be 2 free throws here. First one is good. And already Richard, who played a clean game in the first half, already facing foul trouble. It'll be a second. It's rolled a technical foul. Second one. In and out. But Houston will get to keep. So a chance at 4. And from the sidelines, Todd Golden was upset at that foul. He doesn't like what he saw. 2:39 into the second half as the Cougars stifling and discombobulating the Gators here. They had just 1 foul all first half. They picked up 5 in the first 2:39 of the second half. Unbelievable. It's 37-30 as Uzan's looking for the inbound. Uzan still looking. Cryer gets open immediately, catches and releases. Yes, sir! Sleeping Giant has awoken. Here's Clayton on the largest lead tonight for the Cougars, and another whistle. Clayton tried to make the play, but LJ Cryer gets open at the left corner with Uzan looking at him the entire way. Gets the open space as Florida was focused on the inside. But as soon as Cryer got open at the last moment with Tugler's screen, Cryer did not hesitate to fire that shot. First foul against Houston on the half, but Tugler has 3 fouls against him. 3-pointers missed, but there's a foul here. 3 minutes deep into the second half, and already Houston has 2 on the foul board. The Gators cannot afford to foul anymore. On the rebound attempt as Chinyelu was trying to grab it, but he was boxed out by Javier Francis as he was reaching for it. Florida gets to keep off the loose ball foul. Condon moves left, trying to drop it. He almost got tangled. On the right is Clayton. He has yet to score tonight. Clayton doubled up, and he is blitzed. Clayton activating up. He threw this one away! What a defensive effort by the Cougars as Clayton was driving baseline. Anticipates someone at the left wing. The only one that he can find was Thomas Ho, who did not check into the game. He had only one attempt in the last 16 minutes. Houston's defense is dictating the pace of this game. And they're slowing it down. Cryer moves inside. Roberts hooks it. Bounces in. Talk about Kawhi Leonard. The largest lead the Cougars have had in this game. They're up by 12. Moving his contend down to the baseline. Kicked out. Richard lofts one deep. And it bounces to a Cougar after the miss. Houston is rolling now. Does Todd Golden take a timeout here if Houston scores the next basket? If that is the case, Roberts lofts one. He gets his own rebound. Or rather, he's helped out by Francis. And he might be forced out. And Houston seeing the trouble, they'll call a timeout. 4:12 into the second half. The Cougars hungry for their first title in program history. The Dream in the building. Jim Nantz in the building. We'll return. The Houston Cougars men's basketball program has existed since the 1946 season. This year is their 80th season as a men's basketball program. The closest they came to a national championship was in 1984 when Hakeem Olajuwon led them the way all the way there. But they've lost to the Georgetown Hoyas. The first championship game between the SEC and Big 12 since 2012 came with a Kentucky win over Kansas. The national championship opponents enter with the same record for the third time in NCAA history. This is a 1v1 in back-to-back national championship games. Last year was UConn and Purdue. 1966 and 2006 when the second such occurrence happened. Here's Sharp as Kelvin Sampson used his timeout to continue this momentum. Houston's 3 of 7 shooting at this half. They're giving Florida nothing here. 5 seconds to shoot. Activating up at the left hash, or the right hash rather. This bounces up and around, and it stayed out. And it's grabbed by Thomas Ho. Through the far side of the court. 3 turnovers in the last 2:55 for the Gators as Condon delivers another slam. Getting down the floor and back doors where you want to find the ideal positions. You cannot allow those open looks for the big men to power through, especially if you're the top-ranked defense in the NCAA. Houston has 4 assists. Florida has 10. Uzan getting that switch. Uzan posts up, and he lost it. The Gators moving back with us as Clayton has yet to score. Clayton boxed out, wafts one deep, missed it. And he might go to the free throw line. This is not what you want here. Clayton Jr. gets one up for Alex Condon, who delivers the flush down through the middle. And when we come back, it's Clayton of a chance to break his dry spell. We'll return in a moment. Houston clamping down on Florida defensively, just the way they like it, and locking them up straight to oblivion in the first minutes of this second half. However, Florida might have found something, but will that momentum carry on? Carl Lewis, a 9-time Olympic gold medalist, is Houston's track and field head coach. He's here in attendance at San Antonio. He's getting ready for the track and field teams. Getting ready for the spring season outdoors. Clayton Jr. has yet to score so far. He's averaged 18.5 points per game per season, and now he's on the board. So finally, he gets his first point, albeit by means of a free throw. But any way you can, that's how he would like to do it. He takes several dribbles. Second shot, he's got 2 points. The first 2 points of this game for Clayton, after he was locked down. He had just one field goal try in the last 18 minutes. That's how good this Houston defense is after walking him up all throughout this game. But does Florida have Houston right where they want them? Giving their penchant for comebacks. On the right wing, their right hash. Got it! Roberts calling for the foul, but there was none there. Houston up by 10 regardless. This one rolled out. The second effort on this hit by Condon. That one rolled out. And a save on the sideline by the Cougars to keep this in the field of play. It looked to be Florida ball. Last touch by Houston if it went out of bounds. From free, Houston is 2 of 4 in this half. And the Cougars have committed 1 quarter turnovers that the Gators have. 3 in comparison to Florida's 12. And it might be a foul against Walter Clayton Jr. as he put a body check on LJ Cryer. Jawan Roberts with a half spin around Alex Condon. Roberts want the foul there, but Clayton, he delivered a shove right on Cryer. The Gators alleging that Cryer flopped, but the officials are not buying it. And now Sharp is going to shoot 1 and 1 because the Gators are already at 7 fouls against them. First shot, sunk. It is now an 11-point lead with nearly 6 minutes gone here in the second half. It's a de facto home game for the Houston Cougars. And they have waited 80 years for a championship delivered to the Space City. Second shot, too far, and it's grabbed by Ho. Thomas Ho will deliver over behind. Ruben Shinyelu will shift right side and fend one off to Richard. Ho. On the left wing, it's Elijah Martin. Zigzagging around and looking for a look is Aberdeen. Long free on the way. Bounced up and out. Offensive rebound, but there is a whistle as Condon grabbed the ball. And Emmanuel Sharp was also fighting for it. And I believe it's going to be a loose ball foul. Jawan Roberts called for the loose ball foul at the 13:47 mark. And Roberts having a little discussion about this. Here says 2 timeouts, Florida with 3. But the way Florida is playing, they're going to review the play. Just as he reviewed his foul. And Roberts did grab Condon's arm. That prevented him from securing the foul all the way. Well, not the Coach K strays. So the review here is to potentially raise this to a flagrant 1, or if this should stay as a common foul. Roberts did grab Condon's arm, but I don't believe that this should be raised to a flagrant 1 foul. Todd Golden watches onwards to see if this gets elevated. His coaching staff, consisting of Carlin Hartman, Corey McRae, Kevin Hovde, John Andrzejek, and Torian Green. Houston's coaching staff, consisting of Quantus White, Kellen Sampson, Casey Beard, Hollis Price, and Anthony Goldwire. I don't believe this should be a flagrant 1 foul, unless there's anything that warrants that. But it should be, in essence, it is a common foul, as confirmed by the officials. The 11-point lead remains here for the Cougars. Florida will not retain possession. But regardless, it's the 4th foul against the Cougars. As both teams huddle up, this could function as a de facto timeout for Todd Golden as he is reviewing plays over at the sidelines. They all now return to the court for action to resume. And free throws here, I believe. No, it's actually going to be an inbound. I thought it was free throws for a moment, but there's nobody at the line. Sent in as Ho fakes out, and there was a step. It's Javier Francis who got a step right on Thomas Ho. And another whistle. Ho tried to do a little too much. Instead, it ended up with a foul. And Francis hopped right onto Ho. That is what caused this foul. And now back in come the Gators. On the court, Richard, Ho, Aberdeen, Martin, and Condon. For the left wing, another whistle. Francis one more time on another foul. So now Houston's catching up to the number of fouls committed, as opposed to Florida. 6 points, 3 fouls. You imagine that he's going to be subbed out. And Francis, he got tied up by Condon, and Francis did not like that foul call one bit. He's going to sit down regardless. And so, we get back into action. Condon sets up at the left side. Delivered back over to Ho. Thomas Ho will drop it back. Denzel Aberdeen moves up. Aberdeen fakes, lays one up. Takes it to the rim and tests him. It's a 9-point ball game here. Houston has 5 points of at least 6 points. The depth of Houston is what is showing large here. L.J. Cryer with Milos Uzan there. Now he feeds it to Cryer. Cryer inside the feedback. Uzan left wing free. Nothing but is saved inside by Roberts. Jawan Roberts. Watch the inside for Roberts. Watch the post-up game. He hooks one. It's a little too far. Condon rushes to the ball. And through the far side, the Gators move this one up. Backing up now. And now it's Condon. Alex Condon will leave this one behind. Off pace is Martin. Lost one from free. Yes, sir! The Gators looking to get back in this. Within 6 now. Elijah Martin, who had 2 highlight reel dunks in the win over Auburn. It's this now a 6-point game. For the right wing, the shake and the bake. As it's sent over to the right hash for Tugler. Now set back for Cryer. L.J. Cryer with 10. Cryer draws a double. Tugler give and go. Cryer step back. The free is blocked. And back the other way. Here comes Thomas Ho. Who lays it up. Counted as a foul. A sprint to the basket. And the Gators have a chance to pull within 1 possession. The rejection by Ho. And the ferociousness to get the reverse layup all the way down the line. These 2 teams' jerseys sponsored by Jordan Brand. And all of a sudden, Houston being caught up in foul trouble. They do not want to be on the losing end of this. Seven 0 run here by the Gators. As they all step aside here with 12:06 to go. We'll be right back. The scoring run sparked by the supporting cast of the Florida Gators. That they like to go fast But it's not been Walter Clayton Jr. that has been delivering. It's been the supporting cast. Alex Condon, Thomas Ho, Will Richard. 12-3 the turnovers that Florida leads. That's been the big difference, but Houston has been struggling from deep. So has Florida. Houston 420, Florida 518. But Houston is 37% shooting. You usually don't win games with poor shooting, but also you usually don't win games when you commit 12 turnovers. The only shot, good for Ho. Florida back within 3. With just 8 minutes to go, Houston has to find a spark. Cryer, Uzan, Wilson, Tugler, and Sharp on the court. Emmanuel Sharp, he was key to the comeback over Duke, and Sharp misses the free on the right wing. And a tangle up right behind the play as Houston's rushing back on defense with Wilson watching Clayton. The give and go. Clayton, Wilson staying on him. Now it's delivered back. The free on the way, but a tie. Bounced up and out. And Sharp rushes to the ball. For the left wing, Wilson. Goes one. Cryer's wide open and hits it. L.J. Cryer makes the statement. With Houston calling timeout in the midst, he's got 15. Clayton's out there. He only has 2. Which one of the sleeping Giants awakens? So far it's been Cryer. Moving to the right side, it's Aberdeen. Aberdeen fakes out Wilson, now moves it back. And a layup is smoked, but a foul. Micah Hanlocken will go to the line. With 11:07 to go here in the second half, Myleik Wilson with the beautiful fake and sending one to Cryer to beat out Thomas Ho. We'll return in a moment with Hanlocken shooting 2. Or rather, we're going to stay with you now. Or, I'm sorry, I thought we were going to break because it's normally the official timeout sequence. It is not. Hanlocken and shooting 2. The first one is too far. Florida. They trailed by 6 in the second half against UConn, by 10 against Texas Tech in the Elite 8, and by 9 against Auburn. The largest deficit they faced in this half was 12 points. The previous 3 they came back from those ones. And he missed both. Rebound fall to Cryer. Does Houston's defense prevail or does Florida's offense prevail? 3 fouls each for Francis and Tugler. They're both in foul trouble now. You cannot afford that. For the right wing, shifting over towards the point, now moving up. As the hook is on the way, it bounced out. Short. Hanlocken gets the rebound. For the left, Martin steps back, fires a deep 2. Off the mark, the putback from Hanlocken doesn't go. Wilson the rebound. Myleik Wilson across the court. And for the far side, this is Cryer. Cryer shifts, bakes one. Wasn't fresh. And the rebound will go to Florida. Chance to make it a 1-possession game here. Deep free for Clayton. Short. And his rebound fought for, won by Tugler. Milos Uzan leading the other way. And so far, it's been a defensive war of attrition between the Gators and the Cougars. Florida trying to win their third. Houston trying to win their first. Uzan across for Tugler. He got tangled up, but he finds L.J. Cryer, who finds Tugler immediately with 3. Tugler. Joseph Tugler down to the final seconds. Couldn't deliver. Shot clock violation with 9:48. Now it's excellent defense by the Gators. They shut that one off all the way. And it looked like a hand check right before the shot from Clayton, which caused it to be short. And no foul was called. It was a slice of contact. But it was a borderline call. Sometimes those can go unnoticed because the fingers are not relatively seen up front. Florida's missed their last 4 shots. Thomas Ho will shake around. On the left wing, it's delivered up. Bounced up! And a car crash at the paint. Florida loses the ball. 9:30 left in the half. Cougars take control. The unlucky number, that's number 13 in terms of turnovers against the Gators on the night. Houston has just 4. Cryer's slowing down the pace, and here's Wilson. Myleik Wilson down the left hash. Pulls up. Bounced out. Rebound is out and loose. Uzan saved it. And now moving up. Cryer, tough shot. Bounced up. Whistle blows. 9:07 to play. And that's the fourth foul against Joseph Tugler. And you cannot give any sort of life for the Gators as they trail by 12 in this game. Florida's the king of the comeback so far in their championship run as Tugler made the loose ball foul as he ran right into Denzel Aberdeen. He checks out, 4 points, 4 fouls. Soon enough, you're going to have to utilize some of your deeper bench players if this keeps up. Wilson, Francis, and Arsenault part that bench. First shot is good for Aberdeen. And if you have to go to your deep bench, who do you go to? You cannot use Ramon Walker Jr. as he is out for the year with a hand injury. Second effort for Aberdeen on a second shot. Good. It's within 4 here in the championship. Cannot allow a run. Second at bench points. Florida leads at 6-0. Moving right is Wilson as he finds Uzan. Milos Uzan with Javier Francis setting the screen. Uzan with Aberdeen staying on him. Uzan shifts left. Aberdeen still on him. Wilson. Malik Wilson moves up for the left side. On for the hash. Wilson fadeaway shot for a tough angle. Didn't go. And Florida will move back up the pace. Clayton doubled up. And he delivers this backwards. Now moving up front. Here's the hook shot of the way. In and out. But a foul is called. Javier Francis, who checked back into the game. And he got a hand up to his face. Definitely right onto his hand, and he must be stung right after the hand contact up front. Javier Francis up on Ruben Chinyelu. It's going to be 2 shots here for Chinyelu. They cut to within 2. First shot. Bounces out. So they can cut to within 3. And Terrence Arsenault will step in. If Houston has to go to the deep bench, Mercy Miller will have to slot into the lineup. Javier Francis and Joseph Tugler. Houston is already over the limit with 8:31 to go in the half. Second shot is good. And as such, if Houston fouls again, Florida will shoot 2 shots. And Florida staying disciplined here. Houston's 5-20 in this half. Florida 5-14. No drop pass for Uzan. Holding on to his Wilson. And Sharp gets free. Moved up front. 8-13 for Roberts. Roberts gets back in. Briefly loses it. And Roberts. It was poked out by Martin with 8:08 to go. He is right in on it. And Elijah Martin poked it free with some help from Chinyelu. Uzan's going to inbound it. Does he run that same play? No, he cannot. They missed their last 6 attempts, including this one. They missed their last 7 now. 8 minutes to go. Florida has been behind behind deficits of various points. And the drive here, layup is good! And the foul for Walter Clayton Jr. Finally, the arrival. And they're in the double bonus, which helps a lot. They'll get 1 shot right after this in just a moment. I am Alec Nava. Stay tuned, everyone. The Gators have faced deficits in each and every one of the games they played in March Madness. Almost all of them. They faced deficits ever since the second round against UConn, in which they trailed by 8 at halftime. Texas Tech, Florida trailed by 10 at halftime. And against Auburn, they trailed at 9 at halftime. They won them all. And here against Houston, they trailed by 12 points. And Todd Golden, off the timeout with 7:54, firing up his guys. Walter Clayton Jr., 13 points in the final 8 minutes of the second round. In the Elite 8, 13 points in the final 5:30 of the Elite 8. And 10 points in the final 4 minutes of the final 4. As he is known as the closer, in minimum 40 attempts, he has the second highest free throw percentage in a single NCAA tournament. On a minimum 40 attempts, at over 90% shooting, and he can tie this game up at 48 apiece in what has been a defensive war of attrition. Houston led early, but foul trouble has plagued the Cougars throughout, while Florida's maintained their discipline, picking it up. It's good, and we're tied. 48 all. The Gators have spent 17 seconds with the lead. The Cougars 26-11. 7 ties and 2 lead changes. The biggest lead was Houston by 12. Further left, it's moved up. Uzan backtracked a lot as he was forced to the outside. He posts up from the paint. That rimmed out and is grabbed and saved by Arsenault and deflected out by Clayton. So it will stay with the Cougars with 7:31. Houston has to get something because they have missed their last 8 shots. LJ Cryer, Milos Uzan, and Emmanuel Sharp, who you can trust for a 3-point bucket. Uzan, shake and bake on the left side. Trying to find someone to pass to with 5. Roberts boxed out, powering through the hook. That hook adjusted trajectory, but the Gators get their 8th foul with .8 on the clock. And it's Ruben Chinyelu, number 9 in blue. And unnecessary, a move by Chinyelu to make hand contact with Jawan Roberts on the inside. And Roberts seeing that one, that is an easy foul to call. And Chinyelu upset after the matter of fact. Nelson Roberts to the line shooting 2. He made 2 clutch free throws against Duke to win the championship. Chinyelu also gets a technical foul at the end of it, so Houston will not only shoot 2 free throws, but also they'll keep possession. It is 2 shots, plus they keep it. This is the Gators' second technical foul tonight. So it'll be 2 shots. First one is good. LJ Cryer is actually shooting it because he is their best free throw shooter, and Chinyelu is going to sub out for this moment. The second one, perfect. Took a bounce off the rim and then off the glass before to sink that in as Chinyelu subs out. Houston will check in with possession. Elijah Martin encouraging Ruben Chinyelu. Florida trying to mount a 12-point comeback. So it's 2 free throws for Cryer before the 2 free throws from Roberts. 3-12 shooting-wise for Roberts. He has 7 points. First one is rolled out. Or should I say the third one, because in total this sequence will account for 4 free throws. 1 from a technical, the other from the common foul. The shooting foul. So Roberts gets set for his second one. 7:13 to go here in the second half. And it's on the way. Good. Up to a 3-point game. How do Hakeem Olajuwon and Jim Nance feel if it's a Houston victory? Houston's 8-12 from the line. Florida 9-12. Cutting back door. Clayton and 1 again. Outstanding here for the closer. The guy who you want to trust with the last shot is delivering on his presence here on the court. And as is the case, the Cougars once again over the limit. So it'll be an and 1 try. Clayton up to 8 points. Richard dominate the first half. But it's been Clayton's show in the second half, and he sinks the and one. Tied again at 51. This is setting up for an exciting finish here. Defense has spoken about this first half. Clayton with 8 second half points after having none the first half. LJ Cryer will look and continue to do so at the right wing. He is backed up. The double move as he powers inside. Clayton, fadeaway jumper, short as is grabbed by Clayton. Walter Clayton Jr. for the left wing. And now Martin powers through, smokes it. He thought he was fouled. And the Cougars back the other way. Sharp, he'll look inside. Cutting at the left hash is Wilson. Floats it inside. 6:21 to play. And back and forth we go in the championship. Scoring errors earned, not given between these two tested teams as Sharp went down and adjusting inside for the tie. The Gators once again. It was Denzel Aberdeen. Bench scoring at its finest. 6 minutes to go. Points in the paint, 26-18. Advantage Gators. Long range three for Sharp. Good! Emmanuel Sharp! How's about this for a sharp shooting Trey? His first of the game on his 7th attempt. On the right hash, spinning his hoe. Backdoor, Condon weighs it up. Within one are the Gators. 56-55 and a whistle afterwards. Timeout, Florida. Back and forth we go in crunch time here. And this chaotic sequence in a tournament that has seen 4 number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four has an exciting finish. We'll return in a moment. Florida takes their second timeout of this game. Houston is down to their last timeout of regulation. We haven't seen overtime in a while in the national championship. The last time this happened, the Virginia Cavaliers, as Jim Nantz described it, the all-time turnaround title, when they defeated the Texas Tech Red Raiders in overtime. The last time we saw 4 number 1 seeds in the tournament, which was in 2008. It was the only other time this happened. The national championship featured overtime between the Kansas Jayhawks and the Memphis Tigers, when Mario Chalmers hit a clutch three-pointer to tie the game up. Houston has missed 9 of their last 11. They need something here. Emmanuel Sharp powers up and lays this one in. Tough bucket for Manny with 5:08 to go. Just his third make of this game. But Houston needs to hang on for dear life because now it's clutch time. We're in the final 5. Alex Condon does not have an open lane. He'll deliver it backwards to Will Richard. And then moved up for Thomas Ho. 6 on the clock. And getting boxed out. Cryer. He forces a man to lose the ball, but a whistle is blown. Driven all the way back to the logo. And nonetheless, because Houston's over the limit, that'll be 2 free throws. It's going to be LJ Cryer getting called for the foul. He's already at 3. Joseph Tugler has 4. And Javier Francis has 4. Those are the Houston players in foul trouble. It's going to be 2 shots here. First shot. Connects. Well, Richard lost his footing. He had himself an enormous first half. 2 fouls each for Condon, Chinyelu, Richard, and Clayton. They've been the more disciplined team throughout this game. It's Cryer at the bump, and Jawan Roberts escapes. Second shot is good. And Richard having himself an outing to remember here in the championship. Jawan Roberts with just 2 fouls against him. He's not in foul trouble. LJ Cryer is. He has 3. Spinning around is Sharp. Almost lost the ball on a potential steal by Condon. Uzan slowing the pace down with 4:27. 10 to shoot. Uzan trying to look. He delivers. And powering inside. The layup bounces out, but there's the putback. Javier Francis says, I got your back. Jawan Roberts gives Houston a 3-point lead with 4:10 to go. Inside is Condon as he walks around the free throw line. And now backed up. Now it is Chinyelu who delivers it up. Hand off over the right wing for Richard. Well, Richard trying to get by the stifling Houston defense. Condon boxed out by Francis. Condon puts one up and it's smoked. Rebound is tipped and it goes to the Cougars. Milos Uzan with 3:47 left. Slows the pace down with Houston trying to win their first championship. Seatbelts are fastened here at San Antonio. And a travel down the I-10 towards the west side. Sharp. The Cougars are scoring their last 4 possessions. Is Sharp going to get Sharp here? He delivers to Roberts. Is kicked out. Cryer moves inside. And on the sideline, it's going to be a turnover. 3:24 to play. And a thrilling finish. In a 3-point game. Who has the edge here? We'll be right back in just a moment. An exciting game deserves an exciting finish. The Florida Gators trail by as much as 12 points. They have made this a 3-point game, have even tied at several occasions, but have not taken the lead here in the second half. But one can say that Florida may have Houston right where they want them, behind by double digits because of Florida's penchant for coming back. They have made 3 comebacks throughout this March Madness run. They outscored Houston 27-18 in the last 12 minutes throughout this comeback attempt. It's one thing to catch up to them, but it's another to complete this comeback. But crafty layups from Walter Clayton Jr. have made this happen. It's important that Houston does not get into foul trouble here in the closing minutes. 3:24 to go. Houston has just one timeout. And will that decision to use that timeout earlier in the second half come back to bite Houston? Florida has 9 fouls against them. Houston's over the limit. And the Gators have 2 timeouts to use. The Cougars leading 60-57. And this is after a Cougar turnover on LJ Cryer's travel. 3:20 to go here. How will this end? Fake the pass inside for Ho. Ho Looks Clayton, fires one deep, and delivers it! Walter Clayton Jr., the big shot to tie the game! Absolutely dynamic. In the final minutes, he's up to 11 points. The closer, as they call him. This is 62nd straight game with a three-pointer made, which is a school record in Florida Gators history. At the logo, delivered at the left wing, it is Cryer. Cryer, trying to make the double move, he is doubled up. Cryer has to free up some space for himself, or he has to find someone open. He'll do it himself. Cryer, bounced out, second effort, goes in! With 2:35 to go, Houston leads by a deuce. Up the near side, with 2:27, Clayton feeds Ho. Ho spins it and is kicked out. The free is on the way, bounces out, and the offensive rebound putback doesn't go, but a foul is called. As Will Richard was in the vicinity. And Javier Francis has to be the sickest man on the court now. Curling the screen. Up at the right side, Clayton hits the big shot. Bill Raftery calling it major onions. As it is. Richard will shoot two. He's an 83.7% free throw shooter. First shot is good. And we're not up at 62. I may be speaking too soon, but I don't want to jinx it. So he now has 17 points. This one to tie the game. Florida has never led in the second half. It's up. We're tied at 62. 2:18 left. But remember, these two do not have any more fouls to give. And Houston is in foul trouble. 11 ties, biggest lead, Houston by 12. Cryer setting things up, and there's the foul. It's going to be Condon. Houston will shoot two the rest of the way. Both teams with 10 team fouls at least, so now 2 shots the rest of the way for the Cougars. And it's going to be Jawan Roberts, who is a 63% shooter. He has made the 2 clutch free throws for the Cougars to complete the comeback over the Blue Devils. A deep breath. And several dribbles here. As he takes his time with the ball. The first shot. Good. Houston up by 1. It's actually Joseph Tugler who is taking his shots. Here's the man. All red paint on him. Rooting for the Cougars. It's actually Tugler who is the 54% shooter. He takes a breath. And then dribbles several times. Second shot. Wafted too far. And it's grabbed by Elijah Martin. Clayton slowing it down. Is he going to do this himself? Give and go between him and Ho. Clayton again. This time it's too far. And the rebound is grabbed by Roberts. Milos Uzan. 110 seconds left between a Florida championship or a Houston championship. If it goes to overtime, we'll get an extra 5 minutes. 100 seconds. Tugler's playing keep away. Tugler. He is trounced. Cryer goes down. Off some contact. We save here. And a big shot is blocked in front. Will Richard got a piece of it. With 1:28 and the Gators in position to take their first lead to half. Excellent block to cancel out Uzan's free from the point. Houston will keep it. They have 4.3 on the clock. Most importantly for these two teams, do not foul. It's delivered on the right wing. The shift inside, the juggle, bounced out, and the rebound's grabbed. The shot clock is reset. Florida ball. This will go the other way. And Calvin Sampson upset, the momentum being slowed down for Houston. They're going to take a look at this. Initially, they said Florida ball. Well, it might be the last moment where Tugler. It was off his left arm as it was sailing out. But Houston's defense. Oh, you bet it's under review. They're going to take a look at this. This might be one of the quickest reviews ever. And clearly, I think Tugler got that one out of bounds. It was last touch off of him. It went off of the back of his arm. It was him touching it last out of bounds. And it looks like the quickest review here on the court. And these officials collaborate here on the discussions. If you're a Houston fan, you got to be sick to your stomach here. But that was the quickest review here. Florida ball with 81 seconds to go. And they also have the possession arrow. A de facto timeout by the Cougars in the midst of that review. So they took the time to go over their strategies and to run things over before they get back into the action. 1:21 to go. And Kelvin Sampson wanting his defense to come up huge here. The man in blue is on the court. Number 1 in blue, Walter Clayton Jr. This is the go-to guy who you want to get to for the last shot if you're the Gators. 1:18 to go. Clayton activating up. Clayton moves it over. Condon boxed out. Has to put one up. It bounces out. The putback doesn't go. A fight for the ball. It's grabbed by Uzan. Excellent defense as Houston's ferocious defense comes up big on that sequence. Last minute of regulation. Left over to Cryer. On the left hash. Bounced up. Gators take it away. Condon moving it for Clayton. Is delivered at the left hash. Boxed out. Entry. And a foul is called with 46.5. The last thing that you want to do here if you're the Cougars. 46 and a half to go. And Elijah Martin, who was driving to the basket, gets the contact from Joseph Tugler. And that is the last foul for Tugler. He is out of it. He will not be playing for the rest of this game. Martin, a 75.7% shooter. The first shot. We're tied. If you're a Houston fan, you got to be sick because you came back against Duke from 14 down, and then Florida comes back on you from 12 down. But Florida, they're the comeback kids of March Madness. The second shot is good, and Florida leads for the first time since early in this game. The Gators looking for their first championship in 18 years. We'll be back to you in just a moment. Neither team has any fouls to give. That's the important part. For Houston and Florida, they cannot foul at any point this game. Houston has the ball, and they'll go from right to left. The last timeout was taken by the Gators so as to get their defense set and to slow down the momentum of the Cougars. Houston has one timeout to use. In this meantime, Houston is taking their time to try to drop an offensive play. They try and counter one of the late game heroics of any one of those three sharpshooters that are on the court now. Cryer, Uzan, Sharp. But 3-point shooting has not been a factor here for the Cougars. Moving this ball around, they're staying to the outside. As Florida is watching that outside in its entirety. Sharp is forced right. Looking at that arc. Sharp, he lost it! A turnover at the worst possible moment for the Cougars. The help right on a steal on the poke as Sharp was driving at the right side. This bounced out the court. Off the poke. But they're going to review it to confirm that it was a turnover against the Cougars. on the drives for the far side. Houston does not want to have the season end like this. And it looks like Conda was sliding in right on the right wing of Sharp. The poke by Will Richard, who has been so good in the first half, of the right hand of Sharp. So it was the poke by Richard, and then it went off the opposite hand of Sharp to try to keep this one inside. This was last touch by Houston. So it's likely going to be Florida ball. And another quick review. It appears that Florida will have the ball. We have yet to see the official call, as the referees are taking their time with this. And they're going to take another look at this. Did Richard reach in on that? So Richard reached in on that play. And I thought it was an easy call. And they have confirmed it. 26.6 on the clock. The Gators. But that difference, excellent defense from Will Richard, who has been outstanding in this game. Walter Clayton Jr., the closer, powering the Gators to this come from behind victory if they hold on to this lead. They have not led for much of this game, but they're leading where it matters the most and forcing Houston into mistakes. Inbound inside. Houston has a foul now. They do get it off on time. Now it's moved up and this ball is bouncing and recollected. And in time, the Cougars foul as Denzel Aberdy will shoot to Milos Uzan. Slows him down. That's his third foul. LJ Cryer with 19 points. Uzan with 6. And he has just 1 assist. Just 5 team assists for the Cougars, as opposed to the Gators 14. So Aberdeen will be shooting 2. First shot, rattled out. He missed the first one. This may give the Cougars a chance. They want to drive to the inside. These coaches being masterminds at their respective ends. Todd Golden, at 39 years old, could be the youngest coach since Jim Valvano to win a national championship. Kelvin Sampson could be the oldest to win it. Period. Second shot. Good. Cougars by 2. And a timeout by the Cougars. As everyone gets huddled up for what could be the defining moment of this game. Miracles have happened before. And Houston's looking for their first championship. We'll be right back with 19.7 to go in a moment. Neither team has a foul to give. The Florida Gators, the comeback kids of March Madness. If they can hold on to this one, the taste of glory would be so rewarding. But Houston, still in this. They need a clutch shot from the outside or anywhere around. 19 seconds separates a Houston championship or Florida championship, or in any case, overtime here at San Antonio. The whistle blows here for the final possession. Houston trying to deliver here their first championship. Here's LJ Cryer with 11 seconds. Cryer over to Milos Uzan. Uzan for Cryer. Cryer is boxed out. 5 seconds. Uzan blocked on the shot. The ball is loose and it bounces over Florida. It's over! The comeback kids of this year's March Madness had delivered an ultimate comeback for the ages here on the grandest stage of college basketball for their third title in their program history. Their fourth comeback victory of March Madness this year, and it's the sweetest one. They outlast the Houston Cougars with clutch play after clutch play, and Walter Clayton Jr., despite being held to 0 points in the first half, pulled through in the biggest moments, with Houston running themselves into foul trouble. If Houston touches that, then there'll be a whistle. All 11 of his points in the second half, finishing with 7 assists. Will Richard in the biggest stage with 18 points in one of the biggest plays as everyone shut down. Emmanuel Sharp. It looked like Houston was going for the win, and as Sharp fired it off, he will be called for traveling if he didn't fire that. If he shot that, then that will be a block. Florida's defense, in the end, delivered on the biggest stage, and they held on to the ball to win the national championship. As they were calling for travel, and then as they grabbed the ball, bedlam. And a familiar ending for Kelvin Sampson, as there will be no 800th career victory here on the biggest stage of them all. Everybody count these teams out. We're in for a treat. The Gators, hailing from Gainesville, Florida. 4 comebacks. The feeling ever so rewarding for Todd Golden, who is the youngest coach since Jim Balvano to win a national championship. The second head coach in school history to win a national championship, the other being Billy Donovan. And Walter Clayton Jr., who many could see as a potential first-round pick in the NBA, making his impact in the late stages of the game. Their defense coming in clutch and delivered the biggest stops on the Cougars in the championship game. This late, 65-63, your final score here at San Antonio. We're waiting for the hoisting of the championship trophy, along with who will be the most outstanding player of the tournament. And Walter Clayton Jr. hyped up. And Todd Golden, one of the happiest men in the building. Chomping those jaws. If you think Florida may be done, get ready for a treat, because in the coming days, Olivier Rioux will be coming in. 7'9", 305 pounds, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with when he steps onto the court. And he's going to be scary when he comes in. So there's a lot more to come here in the coming days, but that was an outstanding moment. 65-63 as it is. But for Houston, while they did fight hard, you can't run yourselves into foul trouble. The comeback kids doing it again, and once again, it's just spoken onto them. They put their opponents right where they wanted them. LJ Cryer with 19 points despite the loss, 6 rebounds and 2 assists. While Will Richard, 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 11 points for Walter Clayton Jr., 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and a steal. Alex Condon with 12 points, 7 rebounds, and a game-high 4 steals on the way to the victory for Florida. 7 points off the bench for Denzel Aberdeen, 2 rebounds, 5 points for Thomas Ho, 2 for Micah Hanlotkin, and 3 for Ruben Chinyelu. For Houston, outside Cryer, they got 8 each from Jawan Roberts and Emmanuel Sharp. Roberts with 8 rebounds, Sharp with 3 rebounds. And 9 points for Myleik Wilson with 2 steals. 5 points for Joseph Tugger before fouling out, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals. Terrence Arsenault held without a point. And 6 points for Milos Uzan. As everyone knows, outside of LJ Cryer, well, Houston's shooting in general, and Florida's, they were being held in check by their defenses. This was a defensive-oriented game, and it showed. Florida, 39.6% shooting. Houston, a paltry 34.8% shooting. And each team has sunk 6 3-pointers. Florida on 24 attempts, Houston on 25 attempts. Florida 17 of 21, Houston 9 of 14 in terms of free throws. At the end of it all, in the final statistics on the way through, rebounds are 40 to 39. Florida in the end, Houston 15 to 8 in offensive rebounds, but defensive rebounds are 32 to 24 Florida. Of course, the height advantage showed there for the Gators. Assists 14 to 5 Florida, steals 7-5 Florida, blocks 6-5 Houston. And Florida, who had 13 turnovers in this game, they made the number 13 to be a lucky number because from then on out, they didn't have a turnover for the rest of the game. And they forced 5 Houston turnovers after the matter of fact to accumulate Houston's turnover total to 9. Points off turnovers, 10-9 Florida. Fast break points, 4-2 Houston. Points in the paint, 28-24 Florida. And Houston got into foul trouble a lot. They accumulate 19 fouls in the game. That was the downfall. And Florida took advantage on the way to overcoming a 12-point deficit to win. That's got a sting there for Cougars fans. And the road to the Final Four, it all ends here with a Florida National Championship. They'll be hanging a banner at Gainesville right afterwards as we have the trophy presentation in just a moment. And the stage is set. They have the championship title at their disposal. The hats are on. And Ernie Johnson making it courtside to the stage. And Todd Golden is there. Four number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four for just the second time in this tournament. And a championship just like in 2008, a classic. Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director of the Florida Gators athletic program, and chop chop they go. They hoist that trophy up high for the Florida faithful over at Gainesville. and Todd Golden making his statement. It was his first opportunity making his statement after Florida was in an instant classic last year against the Colorado Buffaloes in the first round. They lost that game 102 to 100. Jim Valvano at NC State won the national championship in 1983. And the basketball program here is back as the champions of college hoops. And Alex Congdon, Will Richard, Walter Clayton Jr. was officially given the nickname the Closer for his clutch heroics for the Gators here in the national championship game and delivering in the tightest of tight contests. The defense leading the way on the perimeter. This is the third largest comeback win in national championship history. They trailed by 12 points and they made the biggest differences. In fact, 4 of their 6 victories on their way to the national championship have been comeback victories. Going against UConn, Texas Tech, Auburn, and at last, Houston. And the view is ever so delightful for Todd Golden and Gator Nation. And a shout out to all the Gator students who made the trip, and the fans who made the trip, and the alumni who made the trip. And without a doubt, Walter Clayton Jr. 22.5 points per game in the Final Four, 4.5 rebounds per game. And as their primary playmaker, he has dished out key assists after key assists and has delivered in the clutch here with several unforgettable moments. In the Final Four, he had 34 points against Auburn. While he had 11 points here on the night, it is where it matters the most in which he delivered. And he delivered a clutch free when he was guarded in tight by Houston's outstanding defense. Which one of the best offenses in the nation takes out the best defense in the nation. And as it is, the Gators patrolling their swamp and they keep it their territory. National champions for the first time in 18 years. That is all from San Antonio. Thanks for following along at March Madness. And from many friends across the coast to another here with you, I'm Alec Nava. Happy to have joined you here for March Madness. Thanks for joining along in this ride. And be safe, everyone. Good night.